Hello, everybody. Welcome to our ISACA Warsaw webinar. It's my pleasure to welcome today's speaker, Bjorn Watne, Global CISO at INTERPOL. Bjorn brings extensive leadership experience from the telecommunications and financial services sectors and has previously served as an advisor to EUROPOL. It is worth to mention that he is also a former president of ISACA Norway chapter. Today, Bjorn will present the presentation From Global Syndicates to Human Firewalls, the Evolution of Cybercrime. In his talk, he will explore how rapid and disruptive technological change, especially AI, is reshaping cybercrime, why human factors remain critical, and how we can transform people from a vulnerability into an essential part of our defensive system. So you can gain 1 CPE point for the participation in our webinar. Please send during the webinar your name, surname, and ISACA ID, if you have it, to our ISACA Warsaw email, which is info@isaca.waw.pl. Once again, info@isaca.waw.pl. So without further adu, Bjorn, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jan, and thank you to ISACA Warsaw chapter for inviting me to do this webinar presentation. And yeah, as mentioned, I've been with ISACA myself for many years. I was 10 years on the board of Norway chapter, also acting as the chapter president. And currently, I'm with you in the capacity of being a global CISO at INTERPOL. And my experience is that whenever I mention INTERPOL, people get very interested in what is INTERPOL. It's a name that everybody knows, but it's also an organization where most people don't know that much of what's going on behind the scenes. So I wanted to take the opportunity to start a presentation, but just a couple of slides on what is INTERPOL and what is our mission. And then I will go into the proper talk on global syndicates and human firewalls. Here we go. So INTERPOL's role is to enable police around the world to work together to fight international crimes. We are not a huge organization by ourselves, but through our network, we connect 25 million law enforcement officers from 196 countries. And something that we are seeing is a significant rise in the impact of global crime, often driven by international criminal gangs. We see more violence, more crime, more counterfeiting, smuggling, and extortion. And this is increasingly undermining our societies, communities, and businesses. The growth of organized crime, driven by digital technology, geopolitical division, and the diversification and global activities of criminal groups, are making the world of law enforcement more difficult. And that sort of sets the base or the backdrop of why we have INTERPOL. INTERPOL itself is more than 100 years old, but due to obvious reasons, it's only recently that we, as the rest of the world, have taken the step into the digital society. Most people know the United Nations very well. It's an organization that has 193 member countries. INTERPOL is, in that term, actually bigger. We have 196 member countries. And there are two elements to Europol, not to INTERPOL. First is the membership, the 196 countries, and then we have the General Secretariat, where I work. So the General Secretariat is effectively the headquarters of the organization. We are located in France, and what we do is we make criminal data available to member countries via our secure communication channels. We provide technical and operational support to all the member countries, and we also provide training for law enforcement officers. We do have the headquarters here in Lyon, in France, We have a Global Center for Innovation in Singapore. And then we have 6 regional bureaus, 2 in the Americas and 4 in Africa. Each member country, they run an Interpol international or a national central bureau called as an NCB. And this NCB in each member country is staffed by the country's own law enforcement officials. And they act as a center in their country through which the international police cooperation is steered. They're an essential link between the police in the field and the global law enforcement community reachable through the Interpol infrastructure. Everyone is connected to our 24/7 secure global communication network that provides access to all the databases that Interpol holds. I will revert to those in just a second. NCBs in different countries, they have different structures. Obviously, the United States is a member, but so is also Kenya, for example, or the Pacific Island states. And these countries are very different, both in size and resources, and also sometimes in politics. So they will have different structures, capabilities, authorities, and the common ground that binds us together is the responsibility to make sure that national law enforcement agencies are making good use of Interpol capabilities in tackling transnational crime. I will come into this later in the presentation as well, that the global crime that we see is absolutely borderless. It has no respect for international law, no respect for national law. And if there are parts of the world where criminals can hide, they will do that. So the collaboration that we have through Interpol is very important to ensure that the criminal masterminds have nowhere to hide. I mentioned the databases, and central to any investigation is police data. This can be the name or photo of criminal. It can be forensic evidence, such as DNA. It can be a stolen vehicle or a passport number. And on behalf of the 196 member countries, Interpol manages 19 databases of information related to crimes and criminals. This data is contributed by member countries, so it can be shared with us and with other countries. It's important also to notice that each country retains the ownership of its own data. These figures are that you see on the screen are about to be updated. What you're looking at is as of December 2024. Obviously, this December 2025 will be ready soon. But for 1 year ago, we have a total number of police records of 151.8 million in our databases. We have, or we had 8.1 billion searches in the databases in 2024. That equals 22 million searches per day, or 258 searches per second. I'm sure that most of you who listen today have passed a customs control, a border, passport control, exiting or entering a country. Most often you will hand over your passport, and the official on the other side will put this passport in a machine, scan it, and it'll make a search. That search is going to our database to make sure that people or you are not an internationally wanted person, for example. So Interpol is present in a lot of touch points, especially around border control. We have 4 global programs where we focus our activities. They reflect the policing concerns of the membership today, and they are concentrated around counterterrorism, cybercrime, that we will talk a bit more about today, organized and emerging crime, and financial crime and corruption. I will briefly mention the cybercrime. Obviously, the technology and the technology development that we see today has enabled economic and social growth, but reliance on the internet makes people and societies vulnerable, and it also creates new opportunities for criminals. The borderless nature of cybercrime poses challenges, especially for regional and national law enforcement, and much digital evidence sits with the private sector. So our strategy at Interpol is to make cyberspace safer for everyone by helping countries to identify cyber attacks and the perpetrators. We do this by analyzing threats, trends, and data, and connecting the cyber and physical information to locate perpetrators. I will also mention a couple of examples throughout the talk. But let's move from Interpol for a second and go into the presentation. So first, I would like to focus then on what we call the new phase of cybercrime. I have been working with cybersecurity for almost 25 years, and it's interesting to compare the situation as it was when I first started around year 2000 and now. If you ran out of internet, the connection was broken, something prohibited you from accessing your email, that was considered a nuisance. At worst, you had to go and take another cup of coffee before you returned to your PC and your internet was back up. But today, societies as a whole are becoming digitalized. If the internet connectivity is removed today, you can risk a patient at a hospital dying. You can risk big traffic jams at rush hour in major cities. You can lose access to all your money. Bills won't be paid. Your power, electricity, water can be shut off. We have become extremely dependent on technology. And that also means that there is a lot of value floating around in this digital infrastructure. And unfortunately, where there are values, there will always be criminal elements that seek to gain unlawful access to these values. And cybercrime has grown into a multi-billion-dollar global enterprise. I've seen many times, actually, through my career that some presenters like to say that the economy of cybercrime is now bigger than drugs. I haven't found anywhere that says that this is actually true, but it's a nice thing to say. It's very impactful. But I would say that cybercrime and what we in Interpol call cyber-enabled crime definitely makes up the majority of crimes, of organized crimes that we see today. So cybercrime would typically be a criminal activity that happens in the cyber domain, like attacking an online bank. And cyber-enabled crime will be where cyberspace is used as a tool, as part of the criminal activities. I mentioned earlier as well that we see a larger and larger amount of organized groups emerging in this enterprise industry, and they operate across borders, they operate across time zones, and they operate across languages. Languages was previously, especially for me, who's a Norwegian, I speak a language that on a global scale quite few people speak. So if someone tried to trick me by writing a fraudulent email in Norwegian, for example, it would be very easy for me to spot that. But with generative AI, not so much anymore. Generative AI translates text into different languages on the fly and almost perfect. So it's becoming increasingly more difficult to spot a fraud attempt, and it's becoming increasingly more easy for organized crime groups to operate across borders, time zones, and languages. And it's also important to mention that the motivation for this activity is not always profit. We also see in the threat landscape that political actors, nation states, they use cyberspace, for example, to steal industry secrets. They use it for disruptive purposes, like interfering with an election, swaying people's opinion on a matter. We can just look into recent conflicts that we can access through the media today, and we see that there are increasing efforts by different regimes to try and control, to block, to promote the flow of information. So information is to a larger and larger degree becoming weaponized, and this disruption is also, as we see it, a motivating factor for some of the criminal actors. I would also like to speak a little bit on the anatomy of the cybercrime supply chain. As I mentioned on the previous slide, it's become a multi-billion-dollar global enterprise, and it's no longer that you are facing a foe, and this foe has discovered a vulnerability, they made an exploit, they implemented the exploit in your system, and they are now able to access and exfiltrate your data and ask from you a ransom. It is a complete supply chain with a lot of different levels and a lot of different stakeholders in this criminal enterprise. So at the very beginning, you will typically have a developer, or it can be a researcher. They will be the people that find the initial vulnerability, and they can already at that point, they can say, oh, I have what we call a zero-day vulnerability, a vulnerability that nobody but me has discovered yet, and I can sell this to someone. Have I done anything legal? Anything illegal? Well, that's kind of hard to say, because all you did was discover something, and you haven't necessarily committed the crime at this point. So you sell this information to someone. This someone may create a malware or design a malware that is able to exploit the vulnerability that the previous person found. Has this new person done anything illegal? Is also a gray area, because they just wrote the piece of software. It's not necessarily illegal for me to make a knife, for example. But in my home country, Norway, if I wear a knife in a public place, that is illegal. So there is a gray area, and still you have these elements of the cybercrime supply chain that makes it difficult for law enforcement agents to punish or to arrest the perpetrator. So if we move up, we have discovered a vulnerability. Someone has created a malware or a phishing kit or anything that we can use to exploit the vulnerability. Then you have a new gang of people, the operators. They will be the ones that deploy the ransomware. They will run the campaigns. They will be behind all the emails that you receive in your inbox, all the spam and all the very cleverly crafted phishing and fraud emails. Now we are definitely moving into an area where it's easier to say that, okay, this is definitely illegal, and this is something where you can be punished. But the people previously in the chain, they run a very low risk, and also these operators, they can just pay them a very small amount of money with a potential very high payout. And at the same time, they can hide behind cryptocurrency, behind encrypted communication lines, a lot of layers of anonymity that makes it very difficult to find them. If we move on further, we have deployed a campaign. We have had a few people that have clicked the link or downloaded the PDF or run the update. And we have a lot of victims that have fallen compromise. Then we see a lot of examples on the dark web that these brokers appear with gigabytes of data that they want to sell. It can be access credentials, it can be credit card numbers, it can be passports, a lot of different types of data that are for sale on a regular basis. On the dark web, hundreds of marketplaces where these stolen data and credentials are being brokered. Another part of the supply chain that we've seen more of lately are the money mules and the launderers. And I'm sure that most of you who listen in, at one point you have seen, and this could be through a lot of social media, for example, Instagram, Facebook, there will be advertisements where people are asking, would you like to earn 5,000 euros a month from working from home? You only need to work a couple of days a week, and it's a great opportunity for you to have some extra income to your day job, or if you don't have a job, to actually make ends meet. And make no mistake that this is illegal. That would be one of the other guys in the cybercrime supply chain trying to recruit you as a money mule or a money launderer. And whatever it is you think you're doing, you're laundering money. So please do not be tempted by these offers when you see them, no matter how good they sound, because that can put you in a heap of trouble. Obviously, if the person is someone very, very untech savvy, and there will not be a big punishment, but please do not fall for that temptation. And all these steps, all these layers of the cybercrime supply chain is also being industrialized to a much larger degree by these global criminal networks. We see that this is also, as anything else online today, emerging as a service economy. You have phishing as a service, ransomware as a service. I just went through all the steps that are needed to find a vulnerability, create an exploit, deploy it, get the money, and then launder it. You can buy all of this as a service online. And the crazy thing is that these services, they even include service level agreements and support packages. So it's really professional, and it's really becoming a problem. And I wanted to tell you about an operation that was recently conducted by INTERPOL in collaboration with a number of law enforcement agencies from other countries, and it was specifically targeting business email compromise, BEC, digital extortion, and ransomware. These are areas that have all been identified as growing threats in the Africa Cyber Threat Assessment Report that we produced last year. And this operation called Sentinel was carried out between the end of October and the end of November last year. And law enforcement agents in 19 countries arrested 574 suspects and recovered approximately $3 million in this operation. And this was an operation specifically targeted then on cybercrime. We took down over 6,000 malicious links, and 6 distinct ransomware variants were decrypted. And let me give you a bit of an insight on what sort of operations we're talking about as well. This was in Africa, this operation. And one of the countries was Senegal. In Senegal, there was a major petroleum company that detected a sophisticated business email compromise scheme in which fraudsters had infiltrated internal email system and impersonated executives to authorize a fraudulent wire transfer of almost $8 million. By urgently freezing destination accounts, Senegalese authorities successfully halted the transfer before the funds could be withdrawn. We have many examples where we haven't been that lucky. There was another financial institution in Ghana that was hit by a ransomware attack. It encrypted 100 terabytes of data, and it stole approximately $120,000, disrupting critical services in the country. The authorities conducted malware analysis. It allowed them to identify the ransomware strain and develop a decryption tool that recovered nearly 30 terabytes of data, so almost 1/3 of the data that was being encrypted. The Ghanaian authorities, they also dismantled a major cyber fraud network operating across Ghana and Nigeria that defrauded more than 200 victims of over $400,000. These fraudsters were using professionally designed websites and mobile apps, and they mimicked well-known fast food brands, collecting payments but never delivering orders. Numbers of suspects were arrested in Ghana, hundreds of digital devices seized, and 30 fraudulent servers were taken offline. In Benin, 43 malicious domains were taken down, 4,318 social media accounts linked to extortion schemes and scams were shut down, and it also led to 106 arrests. So these are just mere examples of how these organized criminal groups work on different layers of society. You have everything from very targeted business email compromise to top executives in the petroleum industry, all the way down to Foodora or Uber Eats, where there is a malicious app that is not giving you any food at all, just collecting your money. So working together, using our common capacity to combat these crimes is extremely important, and it's 100% necessary to be able to deal with this organized cybercrime. So let me talk a little bit about where organizations are most exposed, or the weak points, and I would say of any organization. The first thing being phishing and social engineering entry points. In the examples I went through on the previous slide, everything is social engineering. We are tricking people into doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And it's an interesting observation when we talk about trust in different industries. I used to do this talk a few years ago where I was asking the audience. It's a bit difficult to ask a digital audience, but I was asking the audience, in what industry do you believe that the level of trust is the highest? And an industry can be agriculture, it can be energy, it can be financial services, medical supplies, etc. Most people, they will often answer financial services or banking. But the thing is that it's the exact opposite. The industry where people have the least amount of trust is financial services. And it's quite apparent when you think about it, because the opposite of trust is control. When there is 100% control, there is no need for trust. And also when there is 100% trust, there is no need for control. And financial services is an example of an industry that is extremely regulated and where there is an extreme level of control. So what then is the industry that people trust the most? And with this new information in mind, it makes it quite apparent that this industry is technology. Technology is the industry where there is the absolute highest amount of trust in a population. And it's quite easy to understand if you see how we consume technology today. If there's a new app, everybody downloads it. There will be a please accept these cookies, please accept this end user license agreement. we will just click through it because we want to get to that app. We don't care so much about what all these documents or what all these buttons and pop-ups say, because we want to get to the technology. We have a blind trust. We just want to be on this platform, to be part of this discussion and to see these videos or posts or whatever it is. You have fancy smart TVs. They have incredible capabilities. Everything is connected to the internet. You have microphones inside, you have cameras. You buy one of the big ones, you put it in your bedroom, and the thing is on Wi-Fi, and it also has the opportunity to be automatically updated over the air, and it can even be serviced by the producer. But what you really did was you just put a camera and a microphone in your bedroom. But you don't think about it, because your trust in technology, the only thing you think about is that I want 8K and I want the Dolby Atmos surround or whatever it is. I don't care. Technology, blind trust, let's go. And that is the big problem that we are facing today, because people, you and me, are turning into somewhat of semi-cyborgs. We have every day, every week, a new sort of digital assistant or digital gizmo or gadget that helps us in our daily life. It could be that it's actually helping us, or it could be that we just think it's kind of cool. I did a presentation at an event together with one of my ISACA friends, Ramses Gallego from Barcelona. And Ramses is always funny on stage. He has his laptop, it is a Mac, and then he has his iPhone, and he has his Apple Watch, and he runs around on stage. He runs a lot, and he uses his smartwatch to flip the presentation and to make things happen. And this is very cool, and it looks very nice. But he has just tripled his attack surface from the laptop to the phone to the watch. And every time you add some technology and some gadget to your digital technical infrastructure, you have introduced a possible new social engineering entry point. So this is the problem. And if you couple this with most people's blind trust in technology, then you as a security professional, you have your work cut out for you for the years to come. Another thing is third-party access or supply chain weaknesses. I remember when I started working, and in the bigger picture, it's just a second ago, but it was 25 years ago, and even then we had a supply chain, we had suppliers. But if we fast forward from 25 years ago until today, how many companies have internal IT? It's only the absolute biggest one that have a somewhat internal IT, but their work again is more looking after the suppliers than actually managing the servers and the networks. Every company is becoming more and more fragmented. They're becoming more and more focused on their core business, what makes them unique. And everything else that is a commodity, they will just buy from the lowest bidder. And there we have a problem again with supply chain weaknesses. We almost have no offices anymore. There are a lot of companies now that are 100% remote. And of course, again, with technology, people buy software as a service. They hook up with their multiple devices, and their business is good to go. But this also introduces a heap of potential vulnerabilities that is very, very difficult for any company to have an overview over. Working for INTERPOL, that's a little bit unique for me right now, because certain specific requirements require us to do things on-prem. So cloud, for example, yes, it is there to a certain extent, but when we talk about hosting police data and the network that connects the 196 member countries, that is something that we do on-prem with an end-to-end control. Do we build our own servers or CPUs? No, we don't. So yes, we also have a supply chain with suppliers, but more limited than most other companies in the world today. But this is an area of I would say rapidly expanding vulnerabilities and issues. And we also see problems now coming with geopolitical noise. If you just look back 5 years, the world was a lot less polarized than it is today. There are a lot of tariffs coming in, a lot of let me not delve into politics too much, but I'm just saying that sovereign cloud, for example, as a topic, has all of a sudden become a very, very discussed topic in many European countries, and there is a reason for that. Poor patching or misconfigured systems, that is also a weak point, I would say, of any organization. We are becoming ever more complex, and the swiftness of updates in any software is just increasing. When you look at any software developer, it seems that providing new functionality or providing better performance, it's so much more important to providing security that we're always like a couple of steps behind. And Gartner, a couple of years ago, did a research on data breaches or data loss from the big cloud platforms. I know it's a popular saying, and I've said it myself as well, that the security that we have available to us in the cloud platforms are fundamentally better than we can do ourselves, because the tech giants have so much resources to throw at the problem that it's impossible for us to compete. And yes, it's true that they have state-of-the-art technology and state-of-the-art software and hardware, but that is not where the issue lies. 90%, according to Gartner, of the data loss from the big cloud platforms occurred because of human errors, because of misconfigurations. Someone with 10 thumbs clicked or flipped the wrong switch or ticked the wrong box, and data was lost. So that is also becoming a weak point for almost any organization, and I think 90%, those are pretty serious numbers. So this is not something that's a theory. This is very much the real deal. But yeah, let me slowly move to the core of the problem here, and also possibly the solution, because a weak point of any organization that can also be the strong point of any organization is the humans, the insider threats and accidental errors. Whether it's bad luck or bad intention, humans are still at the core of most things. So that is where I'm going to turn now with the presentation. Obviously, the AI is spinning up there, and these 4 bullet points, they are something that they're being enhanced by AI as well, especially the phishing and social engineering attacks. Like I mentioned earlier, you have perfect language in any language that you speak. You have emails crafted to your very specific position in your specific company. AI will read your social media pages. They will know your interests. They will know where you went to school, with whom you have regular interaction. They will be so well at deceiving you that it's almost impossible to identify. So, am I afraid of AI? Or where do I see the biggest threats with AI? I still think that those threats are targeted towards humans. AI in itself as a technology without the human intervention is not that much of a problem from a cybersecurity standpoint yet. I will come back to that a little bit. But let's go to the human vulnerability then. And as I mentioned, almost every breach starts with either a human error or intent. I used to have this cartoon, this drawing made by a German cartoonist. It's been with me for my entire career as a CISO. I've been a CISO for 10 years now. And this drawing has been with me from day one. It's still being used, and I'm sure that a lot of you have seen it before. It's a boxing ring, and there is an announcer in the middle who is announcing the two contestants that will fight each other. And the promoter says that in the left corner, we have firewalls, we have antivirus, we have VPNs, we have tokens, we have multi-factor authentication. We have every piece of technology that you can throw at a problem. And then he says, in the right corner, we have Dave. And in the right corner of this boxing ring is a person. Obviously, his name is Dave, and he's wearing a T-shirt that says human error. It's very accurate. It's funny, and it's a bit sad, but it is the truth that it doesn't matter how much technology and how many excellent defense mechanisms you throw at the problem. There will always be human error, whether it's a mistake or whether it's intentional. So this is also the case with the introduction of AI. And what the attackers do then towards this human vulnerability is that they are exploiting, or they are attacking what makes us human. You can call it the human weaknesses. Actually, it's things like kindness, compassion, things that makes us human and actually are very deeply embedded in our instincts as a survival mechanism. But now they are being manipulated into making us do mistakes. And I'm sure you have all gotten these emails that it says, oh, you wouldn't believe what he or she did. Click here and see the video, or be very quick. There's a short supply of these items at a very low price, or you have won something, or your computer is under attack. So they try to target these basic human emotions and exploit them. And there are many examples of criminal organizations trying to impersonate police. They can send email looking like they come from INTERPOL, for example, that will say you are under investigation or whatever. And yeah, these are very common psychological levers that will target these basic human instincts and emotions and exploit them. And it's very difficult when these attackers or fraudsters or criminals now are being enhanced with artificial intelligence, because the ability to discern what is real and what is not is almost becoming a superpower. When I was in telecoms, I was many years in telecoms, but we during my last tenure, we had a campaign, an awareness campaign for all the employees. It was a late January, and we hired a company to make a digital mask of our CEO. So we spent a half a day in front of a green screen. We took photos from the front and side and different angles of his face, and we stitched this together in a digital model that was like a digital mask. Then we recorded a video from one of my colleagues saying a lot of bullshit, and we put the digital mask of the CEO on top of this person in the video, and this looked very real. And we then had this this show before the audience where I was on the stage and the CEO was supposed to call us, and he calls in and this video is being played. And in the beginning, people think, oh, the CEO is is available on video, but then he starts saying all these crazy things. And his voice is also not the right voice. So people understand that, okay, something is going on, and then the CEO physically comes running out and say, no, it's a fraud. It was quite impactful because it looked 100% like him on the video. But it took us half a day. It took a lot of effort with these different angled photos, etc. So we had to make a bit of an effort. This was in January. In August, the same year, all we had to do was go on a website, Google 3 images, and upload the images, 3 images in the website, and we had a similar mask. That was how quick the technology advanced between January and August in 1 year. And we had a lot of fun with this. We, at one management meeting, we were supposed to present for the next manager. So my team, we sampled a 3-second sample of one of the other managers speaking in the office landscape. And then we used those 3 seconds to regenerate a whole PowerPoint presentation in his voice. And it really sounded like his voice. All available by commonly available free tools. So how can you know that the person you're speaking with, the voice that you know, the face that you see, is actually that person? It's becoming a big problem. And that, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we are facing with AI. So how to go about it? Well, we need to talk about building the human firewall, because we're still involved in the decision making here at some point. And everybody knows security awareness. That's been there since almost day one. And I like to look at it as a 3-step model when you work with security awareness. If an organization has security awareness, or you as an individual has security awareness, that's typically when you know that, the CISO is telling me to do this. You have an awareness. The CISO says that I should have a password of this length, or that I should lock my computer when I leave my desk. The CISO says that's an awareness that something is important. When you start doing these things yourself, so it's like, I need to lock my computer before I go to the restroom, or before I go to grab lunch, or I need to change my password. It's important that I make it into a long one. I have like 20 characters or something like this. Then it's becoming a habit. You have incorporated it into yourself. And the final step of this chain is when you're in the office and you have the culture. So that is when you start to tell other people that they must remember. For example, John, you must remember to lock your laptop when you leave for lunch. Or come on, everybody, let's go. You forgot to lock your laptop. Or have anyone seen this email that came out? I think it's a scam. So when we start helping each other, and when this is sort of becoming a part of the culture in the office, that's when we have succeeded with our awareness campaign. But it's only then. So if you say that, every October we have National Security Month, and we did a phishing campaign, and we had this and these results, that doesn't help much, and I don't care so much about it. It's a continuous exercise that you need to do, not once a year, but you need to do it all the time in order to go from awareness into culture. And this is another area where AI can actually be beneficial. You can have just-in-time micro lessons, for example, that will pop up just before you are doing some sort of operation. Maybe you are an insurance agent and you are preparing payouts for a claim. The AI can instantly realize what it is that you're about to do, and then it can provide some just-in-time training specifically addressed to the action that you're about to perform, and it will be relevant and it will be interesting for you because it's very directly linked to the job that you're doing. It's not something that you see as abstract or too stupid or too difficult. It will be very relevant, and it will be just in time for what you're going to do. Another thing that's very important when we talk about awareness training and building a culture in general is that we are humans. And humans, luckily, so far we are still human. We like to play. That's very easy to see, and we have liked to play since we were crawling around on all fours. So anything that you can do in terms of gamification, in terms of reward for engagement, in my experience over 25 years, it's always successful. Let me take one example from when I was in financial services. I went to San Francisco and I joined the RSA conference. This was back in 2015. And one of the tracks that I joined was the one on building security or improving security culture. And there was a guy from Cisco there. And he explained to us about a program that they had introduced a few years back called the Security Dojo. And for any of those who are into martial arts, you know that the dojo is where you go to train and practice martial arts. And as you advance in competence and knowledge, you will typically be graded with different belts, is often the case. And Cisco did the same in their security dojo, but instead of belts, they had the lanyards where their access card was kept. So you would start off with a white one, and then as you advanced, you could have a yellow, green, blue, brown, and you go up to the black lanyard. Then you were at the top level of the security championship. And people just went crazy because everybody wants to go to lunch with a black lanyard. So it was an incredible way to actually get people on that security awareness program and really making it stick. So I thought it was an excellent idea, and I brought it back with me to the company where I worked, and we created something similar. We called it security semesters, and we designed it like a curriculum that you would do in a university, where you could have a short exam and you could go in different paths, technical or managerial, and every time you passed an exam and you raised the level, you would get a sticker for your laptop. And especially within technology and development, where people tend to have more stickers on their laptop than what they do in legal department, for example. But especially in technology and development, people were very eager to attend these courses, to obtain the credentials, and to slap that sticker that I'm level 4 while you are just level 3 on your laptop. So a very good tip. Do not forget to have fun. That's always a very important point. And when we talk about this human-centric culture, then to build the security culture, we have to evolve it around the human factor. We can't throw tons of technology on the problem. We will always have Dave, the human error. So we need to make it human-centric. And I think that one of the very, very best evidences that you have succeeded with your security awareness and culture campaign is when you see the rate of reporting increase. Because if you have no reported security incident, it doesn't mean that you don't have a security incident. That's a promise. It's just that you don't know about it. And if you can have an aware workforce that has a very low threshold to report, that have a psychological safety in reporting, that are not being blamed by doing a mistake, then you will have 1,000 security sensors instead of 1,000 security vulnerabilities. So it's very important to make it extremely easy to report suspicious activity or a problem, to provide training on how to report it, and to give the users tools and processes that makes it very easy to mitigate threats. And another very important thing is leadership in all this, and the fact that it is the management that is setting the tone for the behavior of employees in a company. And that is something that I've seen throughout my entire life, through school, through extracurricular activities, sports, and also professional life, that the immediate manager, the leader, is the one that sort of sets the culture or sets the modus operandi for the group that the person is leading. So if you do an awareness program, or if you want to work with the culture element, make sure that you get the attention of management, that you have special training or special ways to address management. And that's another pro tip. If you can gamify, for example, the participation rate between the managers, because managers are often the most competitive people in a whole company. So put them up against each other, or have a scoreboard that says Department A is at this level, Department B is only here. Then you will see results starting to happen, because the manager of Department B will go to his or her team and they will urge them to be better so they can beat Department A. It's I've seen this work in real life, and it's a bit funny, but it's also very effective. Yeah, I see I'm coming to the end of my hour, but just quick on this individualism as well. As I mentioned on the previous slide, it's very important to keep it easy, to keep it simple. If you have too many clicks to report an incident, it will not happen. If the security policy is too long, it won't be read. It has to be to the point and easy. And it's also very important that it is relevant to the recipient. So you can't have a one-size-fits-all security awareness program. It has to be catered to the different roles and different level of competences in the organization. And I would say building a culture is also about helping each other to succeed, more than building a culture that we have different silos and we should all perform individual duties. So peer-to-peer coaching, security champions, very important element if you want to instill this culture in a broader sense throughout the organization. So let me sum up with a call to action. Cybercrime is absolutely becoming industrialized. Our defenses have to be the same. And technologies like AI, it disrupts, but it's still people, I would argue, that make or break security. We need to be better at stopping the fraudsters. We need to build mechanism. We need to build trust. We need to build the collaboration in order to combat, for example, the business email compromise that I mentioned as an example from Africa. Digital identities are much harder to demask, and they're going to become even harder. We are removing a lot of the human interaction. If we go just 20 years back, if you wanted to open a bank account, you had to physically meet up in the bank. You had to prove identification. You had to sign a number of papers. It was a very manual and human process. When I set up a bank account here in France, it was done in less than 5 minutes, and it was 100% through an app on my phone. And when everything is becoming digital, it's a lot easier to trick me. The barrier to do something bad is lower because you don't have to look the person in the eye. And with AI and new technology, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for me to evaluate whether I'm being tricked or not. So yeah, I would say that the most valuable investment that we can do to combat the increasing transnational cybercrime will be investments in our human firewalls. And that, I believe, was what I have time for. So thanks a lot for listening. I hope that you got something valuable out of it. And yeah, happy to be here with ISACA Warsaw chapter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bjorn. It was always a very informative presentation, a lot of content and a lot of very valuable information. So one remark for our webinar participants, this webinar will be available soon on our ISACA Warsaw YouTube channel, so you can go into details and to repeat some of the areas if you are interested. So our next ISACA Warsaw webinar will be 18th of February, a webinar title Cyber Upskilling. So the Tomasz Hetik from ISACA Slovakia will guide you through this topic. So see you in 1 month. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you, Bjorn. Thank you, Bjorn. It was my pleasure just to listen you in more details, because in Lisbon, you just have